Las culturas pueden ser fuente de paz y el diálogo entre religiones puede ser también fuente de paz. Es decir, seguir las religiones, llamar a los seguidores de religiones para que usemos nuestras religiones como medio para construir la paz.
This was UN Geneva Nuncio Fortunatus Nwachukwu on May 9th in Malaga, Spain, during an expert meeting with the theme Plan of Action on Intercultural and Interfaith Engagement as a Catalyst to Prevent Conflict and Promote Peace. Hosted by the Mayor of Malaga, Francisco de la Torre Prados. The event brought together representatives of the Holy See and the Muslim World League, as well as other key figures, to launch a process of interfaith dialogue under the auspices of the UN for the three monotheistic religions. Failure of religions to prevent conflict. I'm about to ask this and more to the Nuncio at the UN in Geneva, here at EWTN TV UN blog. Good day. On May 9th, in preparation for the high-level conference on human rights, civil society and the fight against terrorism, the Malaga City Council hosted an expert meeting that focused on the action plan for intercultural and interfaith engagement as a catalyst for conflict prevention and peace building. I am now joined in Geneva by a regular guest of our program, His Excellency Archbishop Fortunatus Nwachukwu. Good day, Excellency.
Good afternoon, Christian.
Now, before we talk about last week's meeting in Spain, all of us here at EWTN TV and CNA Germany would like to thank God for writing you in His book and for seeing the light of day on May 10th, 1960. Or, in short, we congratulate you on your birthday commemoration, Excellency.
Happy birthday! Thank you very much, Christian. Thank you also to your team. Thank you.
As I mentioned at the beginning of our program, a few weeks ago the UN had organized an interfaith event in Malaga, Spain, in which you participated. The theme was preventing conflict and promoting peace. When you look at the Ukraine conflict, it seems like religions have failed as far as preventing conflict.
No, I don't think religion failed. I think religion has not been given its right role in the situation. I think what is at play there is human greed, the greed of persons, people trying to dominate others, people trying to focus only on their own interests. Religion is everything to the contrary. Religion is about love of God and love of neighbor. So I think that religion has not been given its right place in this conflict. Because if religion gains its right place in this conflict, we shall have peace. We shall return to the negotiating table, and the two leaders will see that you cannot reach peace through war. Peace that is reached through war is often peace that is imposed, and it is not lasting. Lasting peace comes through negotiation and comes through love, and that is what religion is all about.
Let me use your own question from your speech at the expert meeting in Spain. You asked, how is it possible that there is still so much suffering in the world? Why are we not able to take care of each other properly, especially the poor and those on the margins of society and our common home? Why?
Well, I think Pope Francis has an answer which is also very sensible because it is the answer of religion. People have moved away from love and attention to the neighbor, love and solidarity, and they are focusing more on self-interest, which is born of greed. People trying to get and focus mainly on their own pockets, people trying to dominate others, people trying to gather things for themselves. At Malaga, I was telling the chairperson of the United Nations Human Rights Council, who was present, that if religious people were to do their work well, if we were to allow religion to play its role in our society, we would put people working in the area of human rights out of job. Because if religious people were to bring love to bear on our universe, if we were to really begin to love one another and to respect one another, to start working for the dignity of each and every one of us, respecting the life and dignity of each and every one of us, there will be nobody there talking about human rights or trying to talk about human rights defenders. So I think that what has happened is that people, especially politicians and business people and others, private players, government players, have hijacked interpersonal relationships. And sometimes they either put out religion or they manipulate it. But if religious people were to really come up and to show the role of religion and to make religion to work among the various populations, there would be no need actually for anybody to go out there talking about human rights or human rights defenders, because love of the neighbor, love of God and of neighbor would take care of all that.
This event you attended was coordinated by the United Nations Institute for Training and Research, UNITAR, and the University for Peace in collaboration with the Muslim World League, the World Jewish Congress, and the Caritas in Veritate Foundation. In addition to you, senior representatives from the governments of Spain, Argentina, and the United Arab Emirates, as well as the Global Council for Tolerance and Peace and the University of Malaga participated. In your speech, you used a proverb from your country, Nigeria, that says, "It takes a village to raise a child." If you look at the world in 2022, has the village of our society, of our world, successfully raised the child, the next generation?
You know, I love to think of the cultural upbringing that I had as a child. It's an upbringing in which the community, the village, the family played very important roles. The human life was welcomed into a community. You do not own a child yourself alone. It is the family that owns the child. It is the community that owns the child. And the community works together to ensure the good of the child and the good of the whole community. Unfortunately, even in our traditional settings, when selfishness, when greed takes possession of one or two individuals in the community, and we begin to lose that sense of communal solidarity, communal collaboration, whether we call it the effort of umunna in the Igbo language that I belong to, or you call it Ubuntu in the Central African areas. It is important to have this strong solidarity among people of a family or the larger family, which is a village. Unfortunately, when the virus of selfishness, the virus of greed, the virus of self-centeredness comes in, you have people just thinking of gathering and gathering even things they are not going to be able to use. It is a greed that means you go into accumulating things, sometimes things that you do not need. That is something that destroys the solidarity that is brought about, that is found in the concrete and correct communal environment of the village.
And that's true of our global society, of course, as well. In your speech, you quoted Pope Francis several times. One of those quotes, "Extremism is a betrayal of religion." End of quote from Pope Francis.
You know, extremism is a misuse, is an abuse of religion. Religion makes us to consider ourselves subjects of God, to follow the instructions, the directives, the will of God. When we sometimes place ourselves ahead of God, as it were, we try to lead God. We try to dictate to God what God should be doing, then we go into extremism. And that is not something that happens only to non-religious people. We have people that claim to be religious, and instead of serving religion, they take religion and manipulate it to serve their own whims and caprices. And that is where we get into extremism. Unfortunately, we also have people that really have no interest in religion, but they just take religion to support their own ideologies and interests and manipulate religion. That is where we have extremism. I tell you the truth. If we were to take religion as what it is, we wouldn't have extremism. Let me begin with Christianity. Jesus tells us that he has a new commandment. That is actually what Christianity is about, the new commandment of Jesus. If we read the Gospel according to John, chapter 13, verses 34 and 35, Jesus says, "A new commandment I give you, that you love one another as I, Jesus, have loved you." And Jesus loved by sacrificing himself for our good. So giving and sacrificing for the other person, loving to that extent, cannot make you go into extremism to harm the other person. And Jesus says in verse 35 of the same text, by this people are going to know that you are my followers, if you love one another. This is Christianity. I have read also about Islam. I know that Islam has 99 names and titles for God the Almighty. None of these 99 names of God calls any Muslim to go and kill another person in the name of God. On the contrary, the 99 names of God are names that talk about the greatness of God, the love of God, the mercy of God. And if we were to live according to the will of God as good Muslims, I don't think we would have anybody manipulating Islam into fanaticism or extremism to kill others. Let me talk about the Jewish religion. We all share the Semitic background, Semitic origin, whether we are Muslims or Christians or Jews. In the Jewish religion, the Tanakh, which we call Old Testament, if you read also, it is from the Tanakh. In Exodus chapter 20, verse 13, that we have that supreme commandment, thou shalt not kill. So not killing is something also fundamental in the Jewish religion. And then you go even further in the book of Leviticus, chapter 19, verse 18. It says, love your neighbor like yourself. So I have spoken about these three monotheistic religions. None of them invites its followers to use these religions to commit acts of violence, of destruction of other people's lives or dignity. And I think Pope Francis has been very constant on that, telling us that using religion to destroy people's life is an abuse of religion, is a misuse of religion.
Archbishop Wachukwu affirmed in Malaga that Pope Francis, through his symbolic apostolic journeys and actions, has helped make visible the inseparable link between interreligious dialogue and the promotion of peace, reminding us that we are members of the same human family and inviting us to return to our common roots and promote a culture of openness to others. The next steps after the Impulse event in Malaga will be to begin implementing an interfaith action plan, organizing joint initiatives and events, and raising awareness of these issues at the UN in Geneva and beyond.